Well, it's a rather fascinating story indeed. What are your qualifications to do this kind of testing?
Well, to do the metallurgical testing?
Yeah, for the company, the lab itself.
You can answer that one.
Well, we have the machine which they detect if the component is functional or not. I mean, like Joe said, the metallurgic, the machine will pick it up.
I mean, the point is, this lab has been around a long time, and there's a lot of technical knowledge there.
Right.
So I just wanted to get a little, bit of your background, the fact that you gentlemen do know what you're doing. Are there many labs like yours around? You were the first to do this counterfeit thing, but I mean, do you have a lot of competition in this field?
The competition is beginning, but we'd like to say that we're the first lab that's going to open up a center in China to detect this before it comes into the United States. Because the problem here, or in Europe, Doug, is that it may have come into the United States, and one broker may have broker B may have bought it from broker A, but no one knows where broker A got the components from. So I believe by putting a center in the Asian Pacific Rim, we'll catch this anomaly before it leaves, whether it be Malaysia, China, Singapore, because it's growing there and spreading throughout the world. And the guessing game is, well, where did this come from?
Where did it come from?
Yeah.
Gentlemen, it's a fascinating story. We'll continue in just a moment. We're continuing our conversation with the executives of NJmet, that's New Jersey Microelectronic Testing Incorporated from Clifton, New Jersey. Again, our guests are Joseph Federico and Giacomo Federico. How do you work with the U.S. government? I know you do. Talk to me a little bit about that aspect of your work.
Well, the prime contractors, the Army, Navy, Air Force, generally contract through companies such as Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Honeywell, Raytheon.
Right.
And directly, we're assigned these projects to perform reliability testing. And that's what we've been doing for nearly 30 years until this growing epidemic started to just get out of control 6 years ago.
And one of the other things, in addition to the counterfeit stuff, what other kind of work do you do? Do you still do just routine testing of products to make sure that they're what they're supposed to be?
We started our laboratory doing routine testing, right. And then basically our company grew by getting involved in military testing during the Reagan administration back in the early 80s. So what these components were subjected to were an electrical test to verify that they worked functionally and parametrically, and then we put them through a series of reliability tests. For example, shock, freezing temperatures. We would burn them in an oven for weeks at a time, vibration, and then after these components went through these series of reliability tests, then our objective was to see if they worked electrically once again, to see if it would receive a military, an aerospace, or a medical distinction, because there are some rigorous tests that are also done for the medical industry. You
know, you must have, I'm sure, some rather fascinating stories of components that you've tested that have come through the lab. Got any come to your mind off the top of your head?
Well, two in mind that really pushed us into this arena. One was for a fighter jet, and it was for an overseas customer where we were in this predicament where the products came in, we tested them electrically, and then about a year and a half later, before it was assembled onto a main aircraft, the parts had failed in instrumentation testing. So obviously, one of our responsibilities is to launch an investigation. And lo and behold, the product came back into the laboratory and it worked. So we were a little dumbfounded as to why it worked. So a good analogy would be we sent it to another laboratory, an independent test lab, almost like sending it to another doctor for a second opinion.
Right.
And they said it worked. And the long story short was, working with a few scientists and engineers in the industry, we uncovered that metallurgically the device was manufactured differently. Henceforth, it was a counterfeit or a cloned unit. And this is how it all began. And suddenly, a year after that, and we're looking at shortly right after 9/11, it started to increase more and more. And that's when I said to Jim, we're going to go to China, we're going to check this out, and we're going to see what this is all about. And our first education of China was everything goes. Cloning is a way of life. And in the electronics industry, it's a scary thought, because what our distributors don't know is they don't know that it's cloned, they don't know where it's coming from, and some of these components, Doug, can actually go through a reliability testing and pass. So they could even be qualified as a military or an aerospace product. And we really started to hunker down and get our arms around this. And so what I decided to do was put a program together, which once again was embraced by Broker Forum, and we spread the word around to the industry. Hey, are your parts for real? Are you worried that you're going to distribute something that could cause potential danger in the future? Mm-hmm. And if you are, send it to our laboratory and we'll help you out. We'll help you uncover the truth.
Well, that's pretty fascinating,
yeah.
Indeed. And was it any more?
There was another one, and in the medical industry, it was for a hearing aid. And the company that was manufacturing this hearing aid actually wanted to implant it. I believe, I don't know,
really?
I think it was behind the human earlobe, and that was their objective. A small little hearing aid, maybe a few centimeters wide, would replace the standard hearing aid that is kind of lumpy and